So Errol Spence Jr. retains his IBF welterweight world title with a first round knockout over mandatory challenger Carlos Ocampo. Now, I'd never heard of Ocampo before going into this fight. I think it was the same for most of you and most everybody in boxing. We had no idea who this guy was. A 22-year-old Mexican, unbeaten in, was it 21 fights, I think, going in. He'd never fought outside of Mexico before, though. And that's always a little bit of a concern when you're thinking about the quality of a particular fighter. Obviously, Mexico produces loads of good fighters, but the ones who are particularly good end up in the United States sooner rather than later. And when a guy has never fought in the United States before, you wonder if he is particularly good, because normally these young Mexican fighters who are talented get scouted by somebody in the United States and brought there before too long. Well, Ocampo was not one of those. Well, 22 years old still, but 22 fights in, nobody had ever heard of him. He gave it a go in the first 2.5 minutes, however long the fight lasted. He gave it a good go. It was fairly cagey, but then they started exchanging, and Spence went into Spence mode, where he's looking for the body shots. He said, okay, if you want to exchange, and you want to give me an opportunity to touch you to the body, thank you very much. And that's exactly what happened. Spence pinned Ocampo against the ropes, cracked him with a left hand to the body first, which actually landed right on the floating rib, and that hurt him. And then he landed a right hand in the exact same spot on the other side of his body, and down went Carlos Ocampo, just crippled with two very, very well-placed body shots. Errol Spence is right up there in terms of, I want to say, top three. I would say number one, but there's an argument for other people around, but he's certainly up there in terms of top three body punchers in the world of boxing today. 100%. He's a tremendous body puncher, has been for a while, and I guess he's still refining his craft. So yeah, those two heavy body shots went in. Ocampo could not survive, he could not recover, and the fight was waved off. So can't really complain about the opponent, because it was a mandatory, and the IBF are sticklers for their mandatories. And some people are going to say, well, the IBF should be ashamed of putting somebody like that in there. The IBF have got their ranking system, and they like to enforce their mandatories on a regular basis. The other sanctioning bodies like the WBO and the WBC, they allow their mandatories to drag on forever. You see, and in doing so, yeah, they might drag on forever until they bring a quality one in. Whereas the IBF like to give everybody an opportunity. They like to have a fair system where if you get made mandatory, then you're going to get your crack. That's what they do for the most part, and they enforce it strictly. So I personally like the IBF system of enforcing strict mandatories and, doing it that way. But obviously there's pros and cons, and weak mandatories do occur with the IBF, as they do with the other sanctioning bodies. But because the IBF enforces mandatories so strictly and sticks to their rules, then you do get it maybe a bit more often than you do with other sanctioning bodies. But whatever the case may be, there you go, people. Errol Spence defeats Carlos Ocampo in the first round. So let me know what you feel about Spence's performance. Will he manage to stay a bit more active now? Hopefully he will. Will he manage to get the big fights he wants? I mean, you got Sean Porter versus Danny Garcia. That should be happening fairly soon. We'd like to see Errol Spence against the winner of that fight. And as far as Keith Thurman goes, I mean, God knows when he's going to be back in the ring. So, yeah. Maybe we'll get Amir Khan versus Errol Spence, right? Because Khan said he's open to the Spence fight. They're both Al Heyman guys. I think Khan is still with Heyman. Correct me if I'm wrong. So, yeah, we'll see how it goes. Let me know how you feel in the comments. I'm out.